Hello, lovelies. This is 5 Minute Manifesting, and I'm your host, Lovey Brown. Thank you so much for listening. I am thrilled that you're here. And today I want to talk to you about what to say to yourself in negative circumstances. What to say to yourself in negative circumstances. And so we know that we're constantly have some sort of inner talking, some sort of inner conversation, whether that's an inner conversation of something that we purposefully want to manifest, or if it's something, it's just something that we're doing, right? And we're not really cognizant of what is making up our inner conversation. And so because we have this kind of constant inner conversation going on, it's really important to know what that inner conversation is. And if you're in a negative circumstance, like if your 3D reality is showing you something that one, you didn't want to see, or two, something that you didn't even consider and it feels really bad, you need to be really aware of what you're saying in your internal world. And let's just talk about it, right? So, first of all, you don't ever have to deny reality. You don't have to deny what's happening in your external circumstances. But you don't necessarily want to dwell on it and vent about it and talk about it over and over and over and over again. Right? Because that is going to keep that kind of alive in your awareness. So remember, I pretty regularly say it's your focus that manifests. Your focus is really another way of saying your awareness. So what you're aware of being true, what you're aware of being the circumstances of your life, usually continue to remain the circumstances of your life while you're aware of them. And the best way to manifest, in my opinion, is really what you're focusing on in your internal world. Who you're focused on, who you are as a person, who you're focused on your personality being, and what you kind of are saying about your circumstances. Now, I just said you don't have to deny reality. So let's say if you're manifesting, we'll use an example here, because sometimes it's easier to illuminate what I'm talking about if I'm using an example. Let's say you're manifesting a specific person, because that is the most popular question that I get asked, at least, and it's a very popular question that people want to know about in the manifesting community, especially people who are new to manifesting. And that is, your specific person. Let's say it's somebody that you're talking to, in DMs on a social platform, and you're just getting to know them, and you sent them a DM, you've been back and forth a couple of times, and they didn't respond. Maybe they hearted it or something. It's kind of, still innocuous, still kind of but they didn't respond. Your conversation has stalled out. You haven't heard from them in a week, and you haven't sent them another message because, your last message, it's just kind of stalled out. And so you're in that situation. Now, this week that you haven't heard from them, you very likely had some inner talking going on about what's going on with this situation, with your specific person that you're interested in, that you're manifesting, a romantic, committed relationship with, potentially. So let's say that inner conversation, the first step is just really being aware. What are you saying to yourself regarding this? I said negative circumstance, but really this is just kind of a neutral circumstance. You haven't heard from them in a week. You had a fun, flirty DM conversation going on whatever social platform you choose, and it's stalled out. Now, you truly don't know why it's ended, or potentially ended. You just know that you haven't heard from them in a week, but you don't know why. So don't let this don't assign some sort of meaning to it that it doesn't have. So you can play a couple of different ways. One is, and the way I really did it a lot, just because it made me feel better, was I would make up a story. Even, you don't know what's true. Here's the thing. You don't know how they've not talked to you in a week. And so you don't know what's true. So you can really say it's any reason. And because you are the God of your reality, that reason is going to be true. I mean, that's just the way it works. So I would make up a story that made myself feel better. And that story could be something like, they're just really busy. And like people usually aren't too busy to DM somebody that they're really interested in talking to. And we don't have to worry about that, right? It could also be that they're just too afraid. They're too afraid of how much they like me. Now, that's just a tactic that you can use. It's a technique, really. Because you remember, you still don't know. But if that makes you feel better, I say go for it. Now, the other thing you can do is just kind of remain neutral about it. Just say, like, you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what. I can still manifest them. They can still be my partner. Our relationship can still work out. I can still go on a date with them or hear from them any day. Like, just kind of say, like, make that actual circumstance be indifferent to what you're manifesting, your end result that you're manifesting, because it actually is. Like, whether they DM'd you this past 7 days in linear time doesn't really matter to your end result. So you can do that. You can make up a story, or you can just kind of be neutral about, like, I don't know, and I don't really care, because it doesn't matter. That's another option. And then finally, you can make your inner talking about something else. Now, this to me is the most difficult one of all, because, like, if this is the thing that your awareness is on, this is the thing that your focus is on, it can be difficult to get on another subject. But this is something that will work, and that is to get on another subject altogether. Because here's the thing, even though you're manifesting a specific person, you are manifesting all sorts of other things in your life. And if you can get on the subject of one of those other things, all the better, right? All the better. Like, try to focus on something that is going well in your life. Try to move your awareness to something else and a totally different circumstance. It doesn't matter if it's positive or negative or neutral. As long as your attention, your focus is on something else, then this will let this other thing cook. As long as your focus when it was on this was in a place that you felt confident leaving it, right? Like you've left it in that neutral place, or you've left it in a positive place in your imagination. Now, this isn't about what's actually happening in the circumstances, in the 3D reality. This is about where you're leaving it in your imagination to turn your attention to something else. Now, if you just can't do that, those other two things will also work. And if you need to say, now this is another kind of a loophole thing that you can do. And this is, let's say you just have this story going on and on over and over in your head. They're not DMing me back. They're not texting me back, or whatever the situation is. I used a DM example in this podcast. If they're not DMing me back because, they don't like me, they're just totally over this. The flirtation has ended. We're done. And you just can't get off that story. That's just the story you keep repeating to yourself over and over again. You've called your best friend. You've told her or him or them. And they, that's the train you're on. If that's the train you're on, this is another loophole thing that you can try. I don't suggest it as like your main tactic. I suggest really trying to get off that train. But if you just are on it, I mean, like, okay, well, even if that's true, even if in this moment that's what they've decided, I am the selector of my reality, I'm the creator of my reality, and I am going to figure this out, and I can get my manifestation anyway. And just say that to yourself, and see if you can work some ease into your like physical body, into that story, to see if that can like ease up some of that grip that story has on you. Because I know that sometimes when you just have that story cycling over and over again, and wondering and checking your phone, that you really you feel some kind of way, and it's hard to get off that train. So if you're on that train and you really can't get off, or it feels like you can't get off, then try this. Like, maybe that is what's happening, but it doesn't matter. I can still get my manifestation. So those are some things that you can say in your internal world, in your internal conversations, about when you are facing a negative circumstance in your 3D reality that is not what you're manifesting, that's the opposite of what you're manifesting. And, I use a specific person example, but you can apply this to any example in your life. If the doctor has told you news that you didn't want to hear, you can still have healing in your body. If, your bank account is showing something that you don't care for, you can still use these tools, the either neutrality tool or the facing the facts tool, but you can still get your manifestation anyway, or creating a positive story. You can use all those tools. So thank you so much for listening, and may you manifest exactly what you want.